And for more on the Pussy Riot trial in Moscow, I was joined a short time ago by the artist and dissident Peter Verzolov, who is the husband of one of the band members. Peter Verzolov, thanks very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
The prosecution is asking for a 3-year sentence. You've said you're 100% sure that your wife and her co-accused will be convicted. What kind of sentence do you think they might be facing?
Well, there's two options here. So one option is that Putin will send out a signal to the world that Russia is becoming more like North Korea, not even like China, and he will actually give them a 2 or 3 year prison sentence. And the other option is that Putin will actually try to listen to what the world and the public opinion inside Russia has to say about this case, and basically release the girls in court and give them a suspended sentence or some other penalty not related with the band being sent to prison.
You seem convinced that Putin will decide what the sentence will be. What evidence do you have that he will be interfering with the sentence?
Well, this case over the last months has basically become a symbol for what's happening in Russia, both for Russians inside the country and for the whole world outside of Russia. So, and questions of such importance in this country and under this political regime are decided personally by Putin. Besides that, we have a lot of sources inside the government saying that it's Putin personally deciding this case, because at the same time, you have government officials in Russia which have publicly spoken out against the arrest of Pussy Riot. So all this points to Putin personally making the key decisions in this case.
If Putin has influence over the judge, wouldn't there be a good chance that he would ask her not to actually have a prison sentence? Because this Pussy Riot case, has become an international embarrassment for him, hasn't it?
Well, in one point, yes, but in the other point, for Putin, it's key to show and put himself as a strong man to the world. So basically, he might have the opinion that if such amazing international and internal press is asking him to release the girls, he might as well give an opposite signal and say, hey, I'm not giving in, I don't like what the girls are doing, I'm sending them to prison. Putin is a very complicated man, and he might pick the hard decision just to show the world that he won't give in into any public presses.
If he wants to be seen as a strong man on this issue, why was it the other day that he said they should not be judged too harshly?
Well, obviously, the top sentence for the article in the criminal code they're accused under carries a prison sentence of 7 years. So as some right-wing radicals put it in Russia, they said that they took Putin's words as meaning don't give them 7 years, give them 5 or 3. Well, obviously, everyone realizes that a 3-year sentence in a Russian prison is a very, very brutal punishment. But coming from Putin, that might as well, for him, it might mean a small sentence compared to the top penalty set under this article.
Let's talk more about the trial. What can you tell us about the judge in this trial? Masha Gessen, the biographer of Vladimir Putin, wrote this week, she appears to consider being possessed by the devil to be a valid medical diagnosis.
Well, yes, the way the court trial has went in the past 2 weeks, it has been really incredible. It has been a huge embarrassment for the Russian legal system in front of the whole world because, well, you know, there's no question that this is a medieval process which is closer to the Spanish Inquisition than to a court of law in the 21st century. You have the public prosecutor asking as his first question to the people standing on trial, he asks them whether they are deeply religious Orthodox people. And the second question is, do they follow all fasts, rituals, and other important Christian celebrations? And the judge listens to all these things and accepts them as something natural and legal, which is, of course, a brutal disruption of Russian law.
The defence have had problems calling their own witnesses. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, so on the side of the accused people, there have been very, very different people standing trial and testifying before the court, from staff of Cathedral of Christ the Savior to people who simply saw the action on the news in the evening TV reports. They also testified saying that they were gravely insulted by what Pussy Riot did. But the judge, on the other hand, denied the right of the defense to have almost any witnesses called up that relate directly to this case. They denied the right of a photographer to testify who was in the cathedral when this punk parade did take place. So basically they allowed just two distantly connected people from the side of the defense to testify. And this was, of course, well, everyone was really, really amazed at this. She made these decisions.
Your wife got a chance to speak to the court this week. What did she say in her summing up?
She gave a very powerful political speech, which basically put full blame to what was happening on Putin. She said, well, she's repeatedly said that before, but she cleared it again, that they had no idea of insulting Christian values or Christians as a group because, well, the way the song was staged, it was like a prayer. So, and anything that is staged like an honest prayer can in no way be possible can in no way insult any Christian people. So, and given this, she was basically outlining the political situation in today's Russia and saying how Putin is slowly driving the country backwards, not even to the Soviet times, but to the darkest ages of Russia, sometime back into the 16th or the 15th century.
Your wife has already been in jail for 5 months now. She's been separated from your 4-year-old daughter. How is she coping?
Well, they're acting very strong. Both my wife and the other girls are have basically become role models for millions of Russians during the last months because the way they appear in court, they always smile, they give these powerful political speeches, and they appear to be as heroes who, given the brutal situation they're put in, continue to act like real artists, like real political fighters, and well, everyone realizes that what they've done, they really did that because they meant to say what they were saying. So we're really amazed by the way all of them are acting. The girls are just absolute heroes. And
a number of international artists have spoken out on behalf of Pussy Riot, including Madonna, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Sting as well. If your wife and her bandmates are jailed, will you be calling on those artists and those musicians to boycott Russia and not play Russia?
No, we'd like them to do the opposite. We'd like all these musicians to come to Russia and to actively speak out on the case inside Russia, just as Madonna, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Franz Ferdinand, and Faith No More, and a lot of other high-profile international artists did. It's very important to rally people inside Russia, so we'd like as many bands as possible to come into Russia, to play, to speak out, and to actively talk about the Pussy Riot case. This is the only thing that can really put powerful press on Putin personally and make him change his decisions.
How much pressure are those international artists speaking out to younger people in Russia? How much pressure is that putting on Putin?
That is putting a lot of pressure personally on President Putin because he realizes that this case will not go unmentioned by the world. The world has basically made it one of the key news topics in the past weeks, and so it has become a very clear illustration that Russia's regime is authoritarian and is against the most basic values of a democratic country.
How much sympathy is there for the women from Pussy Riot in Russia, given that they did offend a lot of people who are members of the Orthodox Church with their protest?
The public outcry in Russia in support of Pussy Riot is really amazing, as well as in other parts of the world. The thing with the people who still consider themselves offended, even though the girls have been in prison for 5 months and have obviously served 10 times more than the maximum penalty that could be given to them under Russian law, this group of people have really been influenced by all the programs on Russian federal television, which do portray Pussy Riot as some horrible, blasphemous group created with the goal of destroying traditional Russian values, ripping the country apart, and bringing revolution to Russia. So these very funny things do get said on Russian federal television in prime time, and a certain percent of the population does believe them.
Should they have conducted their protest outside the cathedral rather than inside the cathedral?
Well, that's what Madonna suggested, for example. But no, in my personal opinion, I think Pussy Riot, what they did was absolutely correct, because basically the punk prayer was a reaction to the involvement of the church in politics, a reaction to Patriarch Kirill, the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, calling on Christians to vote Putin and naming Putin the only man that could help Russia flourish as a Christian nation. So after this brutal and unacceptable involvement of church in Russian politics, the girls basically went inside the church to do this protest song calling on Virgin Mother Mary to drive Putin away. So this song really did belong inside the church.
Pussy Riot is not just these three women. It's a collective that has a number of people involved, sometimes drawing on up to 10 to 20 people. If your wife and her colleagues are jailed, I imagine that won't be the end of the Pussy Riot protests, that there could be other Pussy Riot groups moving around and doing more and more protests in Russia.
Definitely. Well, in fact, the Pussy Riot Girls did take up stage during the past few weeks several times. For example, they did a joint stunt with the popular American band Faith No More, and, well, some of them actually did meet Madonna, some of the girls. So obviously they're continuing their creative activity and things will be happening.
So it could backfire on Putin then if they are jailed?
Definitely. Well, it would terribly backfire on Putin because basically the image of Russia abroad basically right now is associated with what's happening to Pussy Riot. And if he does give the girls a 2 or 3 year prison sentence, then, well, Pussy Riot will become the best and most well-known illustration to the whole world to what's happening inside Russia.
Peter Verzolov, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks very much for talking to us tonight.
Thank you.